So we're back here, and the goal for tonight is pretty simple. I just want to experiment with modifying the brilliant channel a little bit. So this is a treble model, which means it is the brightest of the JMI Vox AC30s. It's got different value coupling caps from the normal and base model. It's got a bright cap and an added resistor here off of the volume pots for the 3 channels. So I only use the brilliant channel really, and it's the one that's got the top boost on it. It's quite bright. It is tameable for sure. I've had no problems taming it with the cut control and just bringing back the treble control. But I'm just curious what it sounds like if I were to modify the brilliant channel a little bit. So I'm leaving the coupling caps as is. And then the bright cap on the treble model, which is not present on the normal or base model, is a 220 picofarad. I've got a 100 picofarad replacement I'm going to try. And then the 330K resistor, which I'm not sure if you can see that or not. That is on the this lug of the 3 volume pots. Each have their own. That is also not present on the other models, if I remember correctly. So it's not on the schematic. So we're going to go ahead and remove that resistor outright. What will that do to the tone? I'm not sure. From what I've been told, it should add the gain a little bit, and then obviously changing the bright cap will adjust some of the brightness, and I believe this resistor will also adjust some of the brightness of the amplifier. So hopefully I'm just able to get a bit more range out of the controls to be able to more fine-tune the treble with the knob here for the top boost channel. And yeah, the coupling caps I'm just going to leave as is because yeah, I just feel like it. So I did record a very, very quick, just little sample playing with this amp as is into my UA aux box. That way everything is exactly the same and I can crank it. It's late at night. I can never, mic it up in the middle of the night. So yeah, it's cranked up in the aux box. The mic obviously will be exactly the same because it's digital. So I don't have to worry about that. And we can kind of get a real apples to apples comparison to see if it really made a solid difference or not. So I've been dreading doing this honestly because the area to solder is so tight. It's gonna be a pain. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give it a shot and see what happens. All right, let's do it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just go ahead and start removing components from the lugs here. If I remember correctly, this lug was on the pot. It was really small, the opening of the hole, and so I could barely fit in the wire from the shielded cable as well as this leg of the 220 picofarad. So I think it's gonna be tough, a little tricky. Let's go ahead and just add some solder and see what happens. So we've got these 3 disconnected now, and this resistor as well as this wire are both going to the same spot down here, the same tag, as is the 220 picofarad bright cap here. And they're all connected to these 2 lugs, which are then joined right here. So basically they're all right next to each other, all in parallel going to the same spot. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to retain this wire, assuming it's original. But no big deal. I'm probably going to have to remove all 3 if the tag is just a mess down there. It's going to be so hard to reach. So we'll see what happens, but very easy to just throw in a replacement wire to go directly here and then also add in a bright cap. So I'm not too worried about that. So let's go ahead and see if we can get to the other side. It's going to be tough. I think what I'm going to do is just try and use the braid to undo as much of the solder as possible without, trying to pull and yank on the wires to get them out of the little tags there. That way I minimize breaking any of them. So we'll go ahead and try that first. So I'm not actually sure if you're going to be able to see this or not. I think the pot is actually blocking it, but both the resistor and the bright cap are kind of hooked around the eyelet here, which is this resistor in particular is extreme. It's like fish hooked full on. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. Yeah, there's no way. So I'm going to have to cut it. It's so tight wrapped around the tag there that it is bending it when I just move it a little bit. So I do not want to break that. So I'm going to have to cut probably both of these, but yeah, I'm going to have to do that. Quite a lot of solder from the factory there too. Is a giant blob, just a mess, but All good. There we go. There's the 220 picofarad. There's plenty of slack to reinstall this resistor, so I'm not too worried about cutting it. Just obviously wish I didn't have to, but I don't see another option. There's that. Now the question is, can I undo the hook? I have to cut it again probably. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just do a little jumper wire from this lug down here, and then we'll have from this lug over to the same spot there will be the 100 picofarad bright cap. Just got one of these little guys. So what I've decided to do is I'm actually not going to solder this end on. I'm going to kind of leave it floating. I'll make sure it's insulated and not touching anything. And we will connect an alligator clip from this to here. That way I can try it with and without the bright cap. So I think that'll be interesting to see, how much of a difference it makes and whether I prefer it with or without the bright cap. So let's go ahead and do some more recording real quick and then come back and do the final install, or we'll be removing it depending on what my preference is. All right, let's go do it. All right, I just got done recording and I am confused. Now, it is super late. Was it 1:50 in the morning? I don't know if you can see that. My shift is just about over watching the baby monitor, so I'm about ready to go to bed. Wasn't able to really perfectly do recordings of comparison, exact same part over and over again. I just did something real quick. But yeah, I honestly, to me, I heard basically no difference. Nothing popped out to me as having more gain, less gain, more brightness, less brightness. It all sounded pretty much the same with the stock setup and then no bright cap as well as with the bright cap. So I'm confused because I thought that would have made a much bigger difference. Now, I did have the volume control up at halfway. So I'm not sure if I already mentioned this before or not, but the volume at half, I had the cut at 1 o'clock, and then I had the bass and treble at noon. So at that volume level, perhaps the bright cap is just not doing anything. So with it not doing anything with the 220K or 220 picofarad, 100 picofarad, or no picofarad, no cap at all, it seems to me that it's just not doing anything at that volume level. So that's totally fine. I'm just going to remove it if that's the case, because it's got plenty of brightness on tap, and I don't really play it much lower than how I had it set when I gig it. So that's not a concern for me. But I am surprised by the 330K resistor. Taking that out, it seemed to make no difference. And I don't really understand why, but to be honest, I don't really understand what it's doing in the first place. So it's not present in the normal or base models. So really it just seems like this amp's got a ton of brightness on tap due to the coupling capacitor value changes versus the normal and base model. So anyways, it still sounds great. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this again either, but these are not settings I would ever run the amp at. I don't play it with treble and bass on, half in the cut control at 1 o'clock. Typically I have the treble about there or so, bass to taste, and then the cut control to taste as well. But this from here to here is a massive difference in brightness on this amplifier. So here to here is a humongous difference. And actually sometimes I'll run it at the minimum setting before it turns off. So right about there, depending if it's sounding a little extra bright with the guitar I'm playing. So yeah, this is an extreme setting for this amplifier. I would never run it that way. So, if anyone's going, oh, it's so ice picky bright, whatever. Well, the purpose I thought would be to set it at a neutral, quote unquote, neutral setting on the controls, not neutral to your ears, but just neutral on the controls. And then I'll really be able to hear a difference with the changes. But yeah, it effectively, again, to me, maybe if I listen back tomorrow morning, fresh ears, I might think differently. But as of right now, it just sounded basically the exact same to me. So, all right, 2 fails there. We did elevated the heaters and 100 ohm resistors. That made no change to the noise level that I could tell. And then did all that work here and nothing. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and end there, possibly for this video. We'll see TBD, but if it is in the video, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you guys are liking this stuff, and I'll see you next time. See ya.